What is going on, everybody? Happy New Year to you. Happy 2020. Hope everybody had a good holiday season. This is the very first episode of the Unfiltered podcast. I am your host, your confidant, your one to listen to. I am Apollo King. That is my name. This Unfiltered podcast is something I've been wanting to do. This is my New Year's resolution, to start a podcast. Because that's what we need on YouTube. Another jackass starting a podcast, talking about random things. But this is why I'm here. This is what I wanted to do for a while. Let's see how it goes. Just to give you guys the gist of the rundown, Unfiltered. The name, Unfiltered, just what it is. It's going to be unfiltered. Going to say what I want, when I want it, how I want it. No censoring, none of that. Just going to talk about a bunch of random things, reviews, sports, what's going on in the world, what's going on just in general with everyday life. I'm just an everyday life guy. Going to be talking about everyday life things. I would eventually like to get to a point where I have friends on here, family, associates, anybody, just interacting. But of course, got to start from the bottom and you start here. So if this is not the best of quality, I do apologize. But again, this is my very first go at this. So without further ado, on the very first episode of Unfiltered, today we are going to be reviewing a show on Netflix called You. Yes, Y-O-U. And I just finished season 2. I binge watched both seasons. My wife found it, and we sat and binge watched both seasons. Man, I'm going to review each season separately, and then that'll just be, and at the end I'll talk about something that I'm sure nobody wants to hear, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. I'm going to talk about my Dallas Cowboys finally getting rid of Jason Garrett. But that'll be short, it'll be brief, it'll be at the end. Again, thank you all to all who listens. I'm going to try to do this at the beginning as a weekly thing as I learn to continue to edit and cut and do all this and play around. If the channel can grow big enough, I eventually want to get to gameplay videos, stuff like that. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to keep it easy. I'm going to keep it in a podcast format. Because I know there's a lot of people that watch shows and stuff and they stream stuff. And people don't talk about it and review it. And that's something I want to do. Get on here and talk about and review things that I watch that I don't see people talking about. So this week, we're going to be reviewing You. I'm going to give you a preview that next week, we're going to start reviewing Power. Okay? And yes, this is the last season. This is going to be last episodes. But I'm going to, next week, give you a rundown of the first 5 seasons and the first half of season 6. And of course, after that, review each episode as it goes. Once the show ends, I'll give my thoughts on what the spin-offs are going to be, all of that. But nonetheless, right now we're going to get into You, season 1 of You. Man, when I say this show is crazy, ladies and gentlemen, it is crazy. So You, oof. This was a different show. It was something that I've never seen the concept before. Think of it like, if you haven't seen it or you scrolled by, I highly recommend it. First off, think of it as a romantic type of Dexter deal. Season 1 stars Penn. I don't know how to say. I'm going to butcher his name. Penn Badgley. He plays this guy named Joe Goldberg. I don't know if he's in relation to the Goldbergs on TV or Goldberg the wrestler. Maybe he's the Goldberg that didn't get any love. He had the crazy aunt, and his mom is crazy in the show, man. But we'll talk about that. And of course, it also stars Elizabeth Lyle, something like that. I'm not going to run through the whole cast. I'm just going to talk about pretty much the main characters. Laos plays a character named Guinevere Beck. She's like a college student, I guess. Graduate student. I don't know. you know, she's a millennial. She's young. She has a friend named Peach, who's played by this actress named Shay Mitchell. But I didn't catch the first 2 episodes of You. I came in on like episode 3. And my wife gave me the rundown. So the premise of episode or the season 1 is Joe is just, you know, it comes off at first. He's an average, everyday, you know, guy who lives in New York. Sees this girl, love at first sight, but other things just start to unwind. And I'm going to be all over the place about this, but Joe has this thing where he is kind of obsessive. You know what? Not even kind of. He's very obsessive. Before he met Beck, he was dating this girl named Candace. And, you know, Candace was aspiring, you know, like most young girls. She wanted to have a music career and blah, 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 blah. And she was dating Joe. And it turns out that she really wasn't in love with Joe. And Joe was just so in love with her and was so obsessed with her. And then Joe finds out through very stalkerish tactics. Joe finds out that Candace was banging, I guess, the record producer, you know. She was banging this guy. Joe winds up confronting him, and you know the guy's like, "Oh, bro, I didn't know, bro. You know, she told me, you know, she didn't have a girl. You know how it is, how those, you know, king douchebags are." But in a fit of rage, Joe pushes this motherfucker off the top of a building, and he dies. And he's never caught for it. He just like walks away, like, "Oh, you know, I just killed this guy." You know, he confronts Candace and tries to confess his love for her, but she's like, I never loved you. I never loved you. You know, they have this big argument, and Joe pretty much kidnaps her, takes her to the woods, and she tries to, you know, spit some love game to try to get away from him. You know, "Oh, I love you, you know, I'm sorry, I made a mistake." And as he lets her out of this, you know, Scooby-Doo Mr. Machine-like van, she takes off running. Of course, she's a white girl, so she's slow as hell. And Joe catches up. Surprised she didn't fall, because, you know, white girls always falling in stuff like this. She didn't fall. Oh, well. Joe catches her. He, like, straddles on top of her. Like, you know, calm down. Relax. He's trying to subdue her. And then inadvertently takes her head and smashes it against a rock. Well, Candace winds up lying there motionless, you know. And Joe thinks that she's dead. So what does any person in that situation probably do? Let me bury her out here and let nature and wildlife take its course. So he buries Candace alive, and that's the last we see of Candace for a while. And then the show starts into, he meets Beck, you know, they hit it off. But then Beck's friend Peach, first, let me just say the names in this show, especially when we get to season 2, the names in these shows, shame on all the parents. Okay, you asking your kid to get bullied and made fun of. That's neither here or there. So he meets Beck, and you know, same thing. You know, he just becomes a kind of obsessive with her and stuff like that, and they hit it off. And then, you know, Joe he's very overprotective and suspicious. He has this trust issue. And the reason of that is because he had a lot of issues with his mother growing up. And then there's a scene in there in season 1 where his mother takes him to some type of carnival or some sort, and she looks at him and is like, "Hey baby, I'll be right back." And you know, she walks away with this guy, and that was like the last that he's seen of his mother. And I'm just sitting there like, yo, his mom just like left him at the carnival and said, "Deuce, like that's like some single." People give black dudes shit about leaving their kids. She just pulled a nigga move. That's what that was. It was hilarious. She's like walked away and just left him there. Wow. I was like, I could never do that to my kid. Like, if you don't want the kid, then just give him up for adoption or take him to a foster home, you know? and I know it's going to be hard either way, but it's better than just leaving him randomly out in public, just saying, oh, chunk the deuces. I'll never see you again, motherfucker. Well, best of luck to you. That's messed up. But that you see throughout the show that kind of is the reason why Joe is kind of a broken man, especially towards women. Doesn't really know how to treat a woman and stuff like that. So that kind of like interferes with him when in terms of like a relationship. But in the nutshell, like, he comes up with a fake name to go see basically a shrink who's played by John Stamos, who has a beard and who looks very old with the beard. Like, John Stamos is a guy who should never have facial hair because he looks like a fucking grandpa with this facial hair. Like, I was like, he looks old. He needs some prune juice or something. When I looked at him, he should stay shaved. But eventually, Joe puts two and two together, finds out that John Stamos, the shrink, Dr. Nicky is his name, was at one point hooking up with Beck. And I can't remember if, it's been a couple of days since season 1. I'm just impromptu recording this. I can't remember if Joe stumbled onto it or something, but he finds out. And, we found out that the guy who raised Joe after his mom left him somehow, this guy, I don't know if it was the foster dad or whatever, but he had this, like, Da Vinci Code type seal cage in his basement, and he would lock Joe in there as a teenager to, air quote, teach him manners. So he had one of those in the basement of the bookstore that he owned here in New York. Well, we're not in New York, but that he lived in New York that he owned. And he would wind up locking Beck in there for a few episodes. And I'm just like, wow. I immediately thought of that one movie, Pet. But it didn't turn out like that, where the dude he was so overly wanting the woman that when he locked her up, the woman turned out to be crazy. It wasn't that. Beck would try to sweet talk him and romance him, to let her out and all this. And then eventually she would kind of get out. But as she bashed him in the head with a hammer and all this and tried to run up the stairs and leave. But as she opened the door to the basement, there was like another cage door that was locked, but she didn't grab the keys at the damn cage door downstairs because she was so busy talking shit to Joe while he was in the cage, not grabbing the key, not realizing that, hey, Joe may have a spare key. So she wasted her time, and Joe winds up killing her in a fit of rage. And while she was in the cage, Joe told her to write this book, write their story. So she wrote this story, basically giving away how the events transpired, how she had the affair with Dr. Nicky, who was married and had kids himself, and how Joe, who she never names in her book, was the crazy ex-boyfriend who she thought she loved and she did stuff with. And then after she had died, because Joe, from what we could tell, strangled the shit out of her. They never showed how he killed her, but Joe winds up killing her, burying her in a white Ku Klux Klan type of sheet somewhere in the forest. But when the book was released in his bookshop, it became so popular, and then people were just like, oh my God, how could Dr. Nicky? So for somehow the book coming out, it portrayed Dr. Nicky as a killer. I don't understand how that was, but they wind up arresting Dr. Nicky. I sound real weird saying that. Dr. Nicky got arrested, and after they arrested him, they wind up taking him to jail, which brings us into season 2. Joe, but before that, at the end of season 1, Joe's in his bookshop, and season 1 ends with this girl walking in. And they don't show who the girl is, but it shows how he can obsess and womanize over a woman. She walks in, she has like these beautiful legs, but she has a hoodie on, and he's talking. He gives a lot of talking through his thoughts type of deal, and he does that. And then when season 2 picks up, you see that the girl that walked in was Candace. So you're like, wait, oh shit, he killed Candace. How is she alive? We got some type of magic, some shit in the show. It's crazy. But you wind up learning that Candace was only knocked out. She woke up in the middle of the forest, and she was covered in all the dirt and shit. She basically tracked Joe down. But Joe wound up moving and running away to LA. He changed his name. Somehow he moved that fucking cage to LA and put it in a U-Haul type storage. And he found this guy who could give him like an identity change. Wound up kidnapping this young guy who's like a hacker. Took his identity and then here's the kicker, and then took his name and started living as him. Well, in the first few episodes, Joe finds out the hard way. You need to do some research on whose name you take, because like these, I guess, mafia people were after this guy for him owing them types of money. Joe gets this like pinky cut off. It's crazy, like a clean cut, and Joe has to pay these guys all types of money. And then Joe, asks Will, like, can I trust you if I let you out? Will was like, you can. I'm going to go to South America and be with my girl who I met online. Joe's like, bullshit. That turns out to be true. Lets him leave. He doesn't tell. But it's just so much other stuff that transpire. And we're going to get into that now, right now here in season 2. So, with season 2, we start our news journey here with Joe, now known as Will, in LA. Like I said, he kidnapped this guy, took his identity, got his damn pinky chopped off. But Joe winds up, ironically, working at another bookstore. This time the bookstore's ran by a couple of rich kids, who are the kids of these rich LA douchebag. I don't know. The dad's a douchebag. The mom's a weed infested douchebag. I don't know how to best describe them. They're white people. What can I say? But there's 2 kids. There's Love, who is the oldest of the 2, and she is the new attraction, the new eye of Joe. Yeah, I know. When I said these names are crazy, yeah, these are crazy, because her name is Love, and her little brother's name is 40. Like the number 40. 40 Quinn, Love Quinn. Obviously their mom was high as fuck, or something was wrong when they know. Because what is with rich people and naming their kids after dumbass shit? You know what? I ain't want to judge. I don't give a fuck. They're not my kids. I don't care. But Love is played by the actress who played Nell, if you guys have seen it, in The Haunting of Hill House. And it was she is a great actress. First, let me just say this, but it was so hard to just pay attention to her as this Love character and not see her Nell character when she would make certain facial expressions. And man, like I said, she is a great actress. Her brother 40, I don't have the actress's name pulled up or anything, but he's I've never seen him in anything. He's a great actor. He plays this role of for this troubled, broken, drug addicted, little brother who been through a lot. You find out that the reason why he relapses into drugs and all this partying and stuff is not only because he's a rich kid, but he went through an experience when he was younger, I guess with a nanny, babysitter, caretaker type of deal. I don't know. But no matter what, Love is always there. She will do anything to protect 40. She will put 40 first over anybody and anything. But they wound up meeting in like the marketplace of this book. Like this bookstore, it's like Barnes and Nobles, but it's really LA-like. It's called a Navrin, which is Nirvana spelled backwards. Like Joe points it out. He's like, of course it is. But that's where it is. Some other main characters before I get into the story. Joe's apartment manager, Delilah. And then Delilah lives with her 15-year-old little sister named Ellie. And right off the rip, Delilah just sees Joe and just like her bullshit detector goes off like, something's not right about this guy. Da 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 da. And Delilah has a fuck buddy who is an LAPD officer. And of course he's an LAPD officer, so they make him out to be the typical douchebag, but it's whatever. And then of course we got a couple of Love's friends. There's two of them. They're gay. They wind up getting married. They're two women. And then she has a male friend. I don't know if he's gay, but the actor that plays her male friend, if you guys watch Arrow, in the future, John Diggle Jr., the older brother of the Diggles kids, it's played by that guy, and he is not the same character as that guy. Let me tell you, this dude got some range, because in Arrow he plays this dark, twisted villain, the leader of the Deathstrokes. But in he plays this lighthearted. I don't want to say. I don't think he's gay, but he's feminine like qualities. But he's real. He's real approachable. He's the type of guy I could see myself hanging out with. If something's you got an issue, you need someone to talk to. You could go talk to him. But he'll look out for you, and he's also not afraid to speak his mind. And I respect a guy like that. I respect his character. And, so whether he's gay or not, it doesn't bother me. I don't care. But just to say that actor, he has range like no tomorrow. But so Joe and Love meet. Joe and Love meet in like the marketplace of the bookstore. She picks up this peach. It's like, does this peach look like a butt? And it literally looked like an ass. It had like a crack in the middle. It looked like a booty crack, and her and Joe just kind of like hit it all, and he falls for Love, and you can kind of see why. She's like the type of woman a man would go for, even though she's coming off heartbreak herself. I don't want to say ex-husband because they didn't divorce, but her husband she was married to wound up dying from like cancer or something, and he had to use sign language to talk. And you get flashbacks of that, and when you find out that she wanted to have this family and they wanted to have kids because she didn't want to be in a family like the one she grew up in, you just feel for Love, stuff like that, and it just makes you connect with her more until you figure out who she really is and why she is the way she is. But Candace follows Joe to LA, and she renames herself Amy Adams. Now Amy Adams, like the actress who played Lois Lane in Man of Steel and other variety of movies, Amy Adams is the name she chose. And boy, let me tell you, when Joe sees her, when you say the look on his face, when you think, you see somebody, you're like, oh man, he should have bricked. It's like his heart fell through his ass to his ankles. Like, and I felt for him. I was like, oh, damn. So Amy uses 40 to get close to Joe. And she tells Joe, yeah, you thought I was dead, huh, motherfucker? Yeah, I'm gonna watch you die. I'm gonna destroy you, blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, oh man, when is it gonna come out? Joe has to figure things out and all this. Then it comes out that his real name is not Will Bettelheim. His name is Joe Goldberg. And at first, Love resents him. They break up. At first, 40's like, you know what? I don't care. I don't give a fuck that you lied. You've been cool with me. You've been there for me. You're giving me ideas to write this new screenplay. Because 40 apparently wrote this short story, and it made him even a little bit more famous. But he started partying. He became like a male Lindsay Lohan. and no one would ever pick up any more of his projects, but Joe would help him and be there and talk to him as a way to get closer to Love, but you understand why. But then she resents, they break up, and then Love winds up fucking with her husband, one of his best friends. Yeah. And she starts fucking this dude, this big muscly Thor looking motherfucker to make Joe jealous. So Joe's like, you know what? You deserve better. So Joe gets it in his mind, I'll move on. I'll be casual with her. So Joe starts fucking Delilah. Delilah. And in this season, you kind of feel for Joe. He's not really like this, he's not really this bad person. He just gets caught up in a lot of shit. Like there's this famous celebrity guy named Henderson. They call him Hendy. He has this fetish, this thing for young girls. He has this pedophile thing where he like drugs them, locks them up in a hidden sex toy room, handcuffs them and takes pictures of them, keeps them for himself. Well, of course, Joe finds this out, and Joe confronts the guy, and Joe tries to get him to confess via recording, and they squabble. Joe winds up killing the guy, and Delilah was one of Henderson's first victims when she was young. So Joe figures out, Delilah tells Joe she wants to write her story and tell it to expose Hendy. Well, it kind of puts a wrinkle in the plans when Henderson dies. But Joe winds up using the guy he kidnapped early, William, to hack into Hendy's laptop, get these pictures. He gives it to Delilah. She tries to take it to the cops, but they kind of don't believe her. They're just like, yeah, whatever, motherfucker. And then she winds up actually posting the story, and Joe's there with her every step of the way. And out of nowhere, Delilah just drops that thing on Joe, and her and Joe, they start getting it on. And then Ellie finds out, and Ellie kind of resents Joe when in the beginning she looked up to him, not really a father figure, but like a big brother. And she kind of resents their relationship because she thinks it makes things awkward. So Joe and Delilah one night, they kind of go out around the town, and then they wind up getting it on out in public, and then whoop whoop, police pulls up, and you know how that is. So they wind up going to jail, and of all things, Delilah says, can you call Officer Finch? And he comes in, and he's all upset finding out that she got put in jail for banging another dude out in public. So Joe winds up using his phone call. He calls 40, and 40 uses their family lawyer, who has pull over the entire LAPD, apparently, their whole family, to get them out. And that Finch guy is very resentful of him, but he gotta let him go. And they get out. And it's crazy that, and then you find out, like, once they get out, Delilah's kind of like, you know what, you're kind of like in a nice way, you're too much trouble for me. So she's like, let's just be friends. Let's just be friends. You're cool. I like you, but let's just be friends and let's move on. And they do. So then we get back to Love and her new boy toy, Thor. Thor lookalike guy, Great Value Thor. We're gonna call him Great Value Thor. She gets back to him, and 40's like, oh, he's just using Love to get inside her pants. Da da da. He openly goes down on her. Who does that? When he said that, I laughed. But that's what 40 doesn't like this guy, and then 40 winds up confronting him because he knows Love still loves Joe, and now they refer to him as Joe, and they confront this guy, and 40 basically gets under his skin and presses his buttons, and this dude just like cold clocks 40, and then Love runs over and is like, hey, get the fuck out. So that's the last we see of Great Value Thor. And then Love's like, oh, I didn't need your help, blah, 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 all this, and that. And, I almost forgot, mind you, while she was with Great Value Thor, and before Joe and Delilah started fucking, Joe was basically getting into their version of Tinder on the show, like online dating. And Love walked up to him and was like, so, You're unlike dating. That's nice to hear. You know, she's all happy. And then her face changes to like this real serious bitch face. And she's like, so what name you using? Joe or Will? And he's like, shit. And he's like, I was using Will. So yeah, that's crazy. But at this point in the season, the only person that's really died is Henderson. Because Will got let go. He went to South America or where the fuck, bumfuck Egypt to go see his girl. So Henry's dead. They, investigate the case. The case is pretty much open until the very last episode. Excuse me. And yeah, it's crazy. And then all these indicators. No, what happens is Candace tries to break into Joe's place. She finds out where he's living, and Delilah catches her. And Candace uses the excuse, I used to date Will. I left some earrings over here. Fuck. And then pretty much the confession comes out, my name's not Candace. My name's not Amy, it's Candace. And his name's Joe Goldberg. He's a psychopath. You need to watch out for him. So Delilah starts snooping around this place, and she finds his storage keys, and she stumbles into his storage unit with the damn cage. And as she's about to turn around and leave, fucking Joe walks in like, shit, why you in here, girl? So he locks her in the cage. And then he puts on these time release handcuffs to her. They're like set to go like release her in like 16 hours or something. I don't know how he affords all this shit. I mean, I don't know where he's getting this money from. He works at a fucking bookstore. From one from New York and then another one in LA. Like, they're not paying you that kind of money at a fucking bookstore, especially in those markets. You ain't making that shit. But whatever. Hollywood gon' Hollywood. So while Delilah's in the cage, Ellie gets on the project with Joe to write 40's new little screenplay thing. Because he got inspired by Beck's book from, season 1. And Joe pretty much tells himself, I don't deserve any of this love. You deserve better. So he books him a ticket, and he uses a fake passport that Will made, so he can go to Mexico and just live his best life. Get the fuck away. He leaves a letter for love, telling her how much he loves her, and then, they're going to leave and all of this. And he was literally going to leave until 40 said, I need your help, man. Just give me 30 minutes, and then give me your knowledge and help write this screenplay. And he agrees. And then these two guys roll up in the SUV and like kidnap him. Like, oh shit, these mafia guys are back. You forgot all about them. They're not done with the quote unquote Will guy. Come to find out, 40 paid these dudes to kidnap him so that he can get them over there. And then Ellie shows up to this like fancy hotel that we never figure out where it's at. They never say. But it's just a way for him to get Will's help. And then, he wants to leave, and then as Joe leaves, 40's like, if you try to leave, the Russian guy, he'll shoot you. And like, he's for real. And come to find out later on, there's a safe word, and Joe's mad about that. But 40 winds up putting acid in Joe's drink. And man, Joe goes on this just crazy acid trip. Like, his mom shows up, and she's trying to convince him to kill 40, because 40 confesses to killing that nanny type person earlier within the show. So basically, after 40 confesses that, you like get Joe's mom some type of weird acid trip vision behind him saying, oh, you can do it, baby, stab him up in his neck. And then it's like a little part on his neck is highlighting like, oh shit, that's where Joe's about to stab him. And then when 40 confesses, he like puts it down, and he's like, oh my god. And 40 looks at him like, you don't see me as a monster? And Joe's like, no, I don't. And of course, after all that happens, like, Joe's having these weird, I guess, freaking out episodes where his hands are bloody and all this, and he's trying to recount pretty much the last 12 hours of the night because he only remembered bits and pieces. And a little bit starts coming back here and there. But in order to figure out where the lost time went, he wound up going to see Delilah right before those time release handcuffs I told you guys about were about to go out. And he goes there, and she's fucking dead. There's blood all over the goddamn cage. Her throat is slit, and Joe's like, ah, shit, what the fuck? Did I do this? Did I? But, you know, like Steve Urkel, did I do that? It's kind of what he was like. And so Joe has to go on a Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine type of investigation to figure out, you know, what happened and who killed her and blah, blah, blah. At this point, we haven't seen Candace in a couple of episodes because Love hired her PI and figured out who she was. And then, you know, Candace, you know, pretty much spilled the beans like, he tried to fucking kill me. Da, 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 da. And Love said she paid her X amount of money. She didn't say how much. But she, you know, she said their family, their pockets run deep. So she paid her some money and told her, you know, fuck out of here. I don't want to see you no more, you crazy bitch. Leave my brother alone. Well, come to find out, though, in the acid trip night, 40 was sexting Candace. And 40 was trying to get him some trim from Candace. And then Joe couldn't stop talking about Delilah and knew she was at the storage. So they dropped him off in front of it, thinking he's about to meet Delilah pretty much outside in the corner and get him some. And then 40 gives Joe this white little flower thing and says, when you're fucking Delilah, think of me. I'm just like, is this dude bisexual or is he just that high? But you wind up finding out that Joe goes into the little lock storage. He checks on Delilah, leaves the flower, but he's only there like a couple of minutes. And you know, I guess he tells her, you know, you're not gonna die in here. You're not. I'm not gonna kill you. I'm gonna let you out. I just gotta take care of some things. And he winds up leaving, and then you see Love hanging out, waiting, cause she figured it all out. She had that motherfucker PI follow Joe too. And then she read Beck's book and pretty much put two and two together. And while this is happening, 40 gets sober, travels to New York to talk to Dr. Nikki, you know, and try to get the inside scoop and let him know basically, hey man, I know you're innocent. Dr. Nikki's like, yeah, so what? I fucking cheated on my wife, you know, put my kids through this shit. I deserve to be in here. And John Stamos looks even older in this season. That fucking beard, man, that shit was crazy. I don't understand that. But he basically got nothing out of Dr. Nikki. And then 40 starts tripping like, oh man, I need to get my fucking sister away from Joe before he kills her, blah blah blah. But you come to find out that it was Love that killed Delilah. And it was Love that actually killed the like nanny chick back in the day. Because, you know, they showed a scene where this nanny chick was about to basically give 40 a blowjob, and he was underage as fuck. And Love was watching behind the corner, and she gave 40 some drugs, and you know, he passed out. And she came up and slit her throat, put the knife in 40's hand, and made 40 think it was him the whole time. Which you wind up finding out that he knows it wasn't him. He knew it was Love, but that's his sister. He loves her, so what the fuck? Who is he to judge? She's just looking out for him. But then you find out Love is just as crazy as Joe. And then you're like thinking, like, oh, these two motherfuckers is perfect for each other. Like, it don't get no better than this. So, Love locks fucking Joe, of all people, in the cage. In there with Delilah's rotting body. And the search for Delilah begins. That cop's looking for her. Her sister Ellie's like freaking out, and oh my god, Love comes up with this plan to have Ellie take the fall, and they're gonna use their lawyer to get her out, and all this. It's crazy. And Joe's like, this bitch is crazy. He's like, now I know what Beck felt like. But in a nutshell, the show pretty much caps off with 40 figures it all out, and he has what's her name? Love, his sister, almost forgot. And Joe meet him at a Navrin, and he pulls out a pistol. He's going to shoot Joe. He's like, "You're crazy. You know, I need you away from my sister. You can't have her. I know you're crazy, love, but you're my sister, so, you know, fuck it, I guess." But he tells Joe, "Get on your knees, close your eyes," because he can't shoot a man with his eyes open looking at him at face level, I guess. And then as 40 is about to shoot Joe, the Officer Finch comes in and shoots 40. And Joe has his blood all over him, and Love just freaks out, man. And then 40 is the one that runs up taking the rap for the death of Delilah and all this shit. But before that happens, you know, Love basically said, "Let me go in here, let me go talk to Foy, let me calm him down. You come in 5 minutes after me," you know, like on a time delay. And while Love is inside, Joe sees Ellie hiding by the dumpsters. You know, she sucks at hide and seek, let's just say that. He goes up, he confronts her, and she's like, "Stay away from me. So he winds up taking her inside to the, I guess somehow Joe knew about a safe with a bunch of money. And she's like, "Did you guys kill her? Did you kill my sister?" Joe's like, "Take this fucking money, go east, go somewhere and leave." She's like, "I'm 15. And at this point, I'm thinking, well, at any other point in the show, you're acting grown. Well, it's time for you to act fucking big adult now. And she's like, "I hate you, burn in hell." And then she leaves, and we don't see Ellie again. And at the end, she's sending postcards because Joe promised her he would send her money, you know, take care of her. Yeah, anytime he looks at one of those, he shreds those fuckers and just walks out. It's just hilarious. But yeah, man, that pretty much ends, wind up finding out that Love is pregnant, of all things. Yeah. So that's pretty much a wrap on season 2. Don't know if there's going to be a season 3, but yeah, like I said, Love winds up being pregnant. They move to the suburbs. Nice fucking house too. I mean, a nice house. And at the end, you see how Joe truly is. He's just too obsessed with women, having and wanting and obsessing over women. And there's a neighbor next door. She's in the backyard. She has her a fucking glass of tea or water or some shit. A little fancy umbrella. She's reading books in her bathing suit. Her little, you know, bougie ass sun hat. And Joe's like, "I'm right where I need to be. I'll be seeing you soon, neighbor." And then the show ends. Overall, I think this is a great show. Very great show. I highly recommend watching it. There is a lot of sexy going on. And there's a lot of character growth. You know, like I said, the concept of the show, it's like Dexter meets, you know, hopeless romantic type of deal. I like it. I'm looking forward to season 3. I think the actors were great. The show was great. There wasn't, to me, any of those, I guess, dead filler episodes. They all kind of mesh well together. And I feel like, for the most part, I was really on the edge of my seat the whole time. So, in a nutshell, the show was great. And that is my review of You. If I had to give it a rating, scale of 1 to 10, you know, I'm not going to do 1 to 10. I'm going to do a star rating. So I'll give it 4 out of 5 because, of course, it's hard to say that it's perfect, but I think it's a 4 out of 5. It's definitely a must watch. Of course, there are some things in there they could have done better, a little bit different, but for the most part, I thoroughly enjoyed this show. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Looking forward to season 3, probably at the end of 2020 when that comes out. Maybe sooner, hopefully. But overall, great show. Now for the last topic, like I said, I told y'all it wasn't going to be long. It'll be brief. The Dallas Cowboys finally fired that red-headed, overclapping, robotic, no emotional, dead motherfucker Jason Garrett. He is gone. He's out of there. My goodness, man. I hope we get a great coach, man. Look, I love my Cowboys, but damn it is hard being a Cowboys fan. And it seems like every year when we put expectation on these guys, they just break our hearts, man. I don't know what to say. And all of my friends that are not Cowboys fans, though, they let it be known. When we lose, oh man, I hear it. But I'm not one of those typical fans who's like, yeah, we're going to be all right next year. No, I hold them to a high standard. You know, the last time these dudes won a damn Super Bowl, I had just learned how to potty train. So these dudes need to get on the ball, man. Quarter century for a franchise like this, the richest franchise in the world, and it's been a quarter century since you had a championship. That's unacceptable. Like, to be on the level with the Yankees and the Lakers, you know, I don't know who would be the equivalent in hockey. Maybe the Penguins, not sure. But, you know, being an equivalent of that level and to go that long without a championship, that's the wrong answer, man. So hopefully we can get, in my opinion, I would like Urban Meyer. I know he's a college coach and he ain't ever coached NFL, but I mean, it worked for Jimmy Johnson. So maybe for Urban Meyer to work. As of right now, as I make this, I got the news that the Cowboys are looking at ex-Bengals coach Marvin Lewis. I'm going to thumbs down that shit. And they're also looking at ex-Packers coach Mike McCarthy. I would really love to see Shrek get hired. If you never looked at Mike McCarthy, just pull up a picture of him and then pull up a picture of Shrek and tell me them two don't fucking look alike. But yeah, man, that is the end of the podcast. This is my first. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back here next week. Like I said, next week I'm going to be talking about power. I'll be talking about some NFL playoffs. And I'll try to think of some other things here to talk about. And maybe I can convince my wife to get on here with me next week and we talk about The Witcher once we finish that. And then we're also going to review another movie on Netflix. It's called Eli. We'll sit and we'll talk about that. So thank you guys for listening. Hope y'all enjoyed. I'll talk to you next time.